What's up guys, this is Justin from Studio G, and today we are going to test a special airbrush, and this is the airbrush that I'm talking about. This is the one. Let's do this. So within this video, we are going to talk about several things. First of all, it's the build quality as well as the construction of the entire airbrush and how it benefits you or me or people like me basically who suffers a little bit of carpal tunnel syndrome. What does that mean is that basically whenever I'm using a traditional airbrush, I am always in pain, and that has hindered me in my work for a lot, to be honest. When Gaahleri approached me and we spoke about this problem, they suggested that why not we design something that would help with the situation. So they sent me their first ever trigger airbrush, which is the GHAC-68. Now that trigger airbrush is good, but it's not good enough. I think that there's a lot of stuff that we can improve upon, and that's what we did. Now to do the next segment, I'm gonna switch to the top view so you guys can see what I am doing right here. So this is the airbrush that I'm talking about, codename Swallowtail. So this is a collaborative edition airbrush set that is from Gaahleri and Studio G, that is me. And then when you first open up the airbrush, you can see that on the lid here, we have the explosion of basically just parts of and how it's constructed, so you can see clearly on everything that is on here. And then moving on, we have an envelope. So at the back side of the envelope, it's my personal message to all of you guys who supported me. And then when you open up this envelope, inside there should be a instruction on how to do everything basically. You know what, it starts from beginning, painting, start airbrushing, how to change the caliber, and then when reverse flow, how to do reverse flow into the cup, and what happens if you're unable to spray paint. Basically, it's just stuff that you really need to know, and this is a good guide to keep on hand whenever you're painting. So if you're a beginner, this is a very helpful guide. And within the envelope itself, it's a message from Gaahleri to you guys, and then put this aside. And then underneath this piece of foam, it's the airbrush itself. So with the airbrush set, what you get is, first of all, you can see that you will be getting some O-rings. So these are the O-rings that I'm talking about. These O-rings are pretty hard to buy, so it's always nice to have a couple extras that, you know, for precaution basically. And then within the airbrush itself, the set itself, you can see that we have the trigger airbrush here. Now we got the 0.7 nozzle, and this is the nozzle cap alongside with the lube. So the lubrication itself is for you to lube up your airbrush every time you do a deep clean, so that everything still runs smoothly within the mechanism itself. And then we got the 0.5 nozzle here, and another nozzle cap. And then with this you will be getting two different cup size as well, and these cups are mirror level cups. And what I mean by that is that the interior of the cup itself is really polished to a mirror level. So with this you get 1/3 of an ounce as well as 2/3 of an ounce. They are approximately 10 millimeters and also 19 millimeters. This is a lot of capacity for a non-molded paint cups. So this is my special request. I put it in because, as you know, we are painting Gumplas, and then when we are doing that, we require a lot of paint. And in order to not keep topping up the paint, it's always to have a nice big cup. So this cup itself is mirror level. As you can see, the inside of it is super polished. And why is that? I'm gonna show you guys later on. This is gonna be super easy for you to clean up your paint, no matter what kind of paint you're using, basically like lacquer, acrylic, and all that. So we'll be using lacquer paint today for our entire testing. So other than the cup, you'll be getting 3 needle size. The default one, which is the one that is already been installed for you within the airbrush itself, is the one that is 0.28. This is excellent for precise painting, meaning you can paint really fine details, and you can get even further precision by removing this nozzle cap. And then you will also be getting a 0.5 needle. So remember that we have the set here, right? This is the nozzle and the needle. So this is the needle, as well as a 0.7 needle, as well as the nozzle and the nozzle cap itself. So 0.5 and 0.7s, they are awesome basically for priming. If you're working on projects that is other than Gumpla, meaning that you're doing dioramas, you're doing stuff like that, you need wide coverage, these are the needle to go for. So later on, I'm gonna demonstrate on how to change up the needles and doing all that stuff. And we'll be testing several applications as well, meaning that we'll be painting on a piece of paper to see how precise and how small things can be. And then we will do several painting tests as well, meaning from really fine lines to really wide coverage. And then after that, we're gonna paint some Gumpla parts as well. Unfortunately, I do not have the car parts here, but if you're a car modeler, 0.5, 0.7, it's marvelous basically. All right, let's get started. So before we get started on anything, I just want to say that over here, before you start painting, let's do a couple of quality checks, because upon assembly, you know, things might go wrong and all that stuff. What you want to do first is to remove the cutaway handle, and then remove the top cap, only the top cap itself, not the whole nozzle, okay? So just remove the top cap. That will leave the default needle exposed. And today we're gonna start our testing by using this 0.28. And then what you're gonna do is, I want you to loosen up this part a little bit. This is the part that grips onto the needle and keep it in place. Loosen it up a little bit. And then what you wanna do is try to move the needle just a little bit, you know, just a little bit. And then what you wanna do is push it all the way in, but not too much force until it stops, and then you know that that is the end. And what you want to do is start tightening things back up, because sometimes when they twist on these hands, they accidentally untwist a little bit on this tightening screw, and that will kind of like, you may think that it's faulty, but it's actually not. You just need to tighten things up. So this is one of the checks that you need to do. And after that, we just screw on this nozzle cap. Okay, we're done. Next is to choose your preferred cup size. So for this, I'm gonna go with the largest cup, because you know what, I like it. I really love it. Okay, next is to check the handle itself. So the handle by default, it comes with a male quick release adapter. So what you want to do is you untwist this out. If you don't have a female, unfortunately, you can't use this. And then what you want to do is just remove this fastening ring. So once this is removed, you can remove the handle. So with the handle removed, you're gonna make sure that this entire shaft, this air shaft and the handle shaft, it's really tight. Okay, so it's tightened, good to go. Put this back up and then retightening the screw. All right, so remember, when you're doing all this tightening and loosening stuff, just don't overdo it, you know, like make sure that it's tight enough, then you're good to go. So this is the basic knowledge on how to get started. So first of all, we're gonna get started with some precision painting. So right here, I'm only painting dots throughout the entire paper to kind of show you guys that it can be done if it's needed. However, this situation is not ideal. First of all, I am definitely not skilled to do this, because I am not a precision painter. I do not paint with my airbrush on fine arts, nor do I do any fine arts at all. So I'm very sorry for that. If this is not presented in the best way, maybe some other people could do it way better than I am. So other than dots, we'll also be doing some fine line. So as you can see, with this trigger airbrush, you can achieve pretty fine lines. Unfortunately, my hands are not steady enough, that is for sure, to do this on a straight line. This is probably the best that I could do, and this is probably the only time I'll be doing this. Other than that, usually I'll just use the airbrush for white painting, not really fine line. However, fine line is kind of like the standard that we're trying to achieve, and we're glad that we've done that. So over here we can see that I have been painting some the pattern of 8s as well, And then this requires really a lot of practice with the trigger itself, as well as your hand motion and the control of the airflow and all that stuff. So later on you're gonna see that I'm getting more and more comfortable as more repetition is done and all that stuff. And yeah, this is all done with the 0.28 millimeter needle and nozzle combo that is default with this particular airbrush. And this is probably my last attempt on doing the figure eight. And yeah, as you can see, the lines are getting better. And obviously with this, I have put in some distance between the airbrush as well as the paper. If I go really close to the paper itself, you can achieve really fine line. It kind of look like pencil at the end of the day, so that's pretty good. And now let's come to the point where we start to paint Gumpla parts. So these are some extra parts from the aerial Gumpla, and I just want to demonstrate to you guys on even 0.28 can be used to paint Gumplas. If you're lazy to swap things out, or you just want to keep 0.5 purely for primer and priming, same goes to the 0.7. You could definitely use the 0.7 for hanger based painting and all that stuff. It's definitely super wide, ultra wide, and good enough coverage. With this, the paint that I use would be G Paint Metallic Red. It's just something that I have lying around, so why not just try it on instead of the conventional black and all that stuff. So with G paint or maybe lacquer paint in general, you only need to do twice basically. The first pass would be a very fine tint pass, and then followed by a slightly thicker pass of the paint, and you're done, because it dries quick and the surface is really smooth after you paint it. That is one of the most recognizable characteristics of using a lacquer paint, and this airbrush handles that perfectly. And most importantly, it was really comfortable to use. Basically the entire hand motion wasn't restricted, and I can see myself doing this and painting long whenever I'm using a trigger type airbrush. And if you're not doing any fine line painting or anything like that, trigger airbrush is definitely very recommended instead of using like a normal conventional airbrush. And then now we're at the section where I'm just cleaning out the airbrush cup, meaning that it's either for swapping paint or it can be used for, like I'm done with painting, so I'm just gonna clean out. So conventionally, you probably have to like stick your tissue inside the cup itself, and then like try to wipe things out. And it's obviously the best if you don't have to do that. And with the mirror level finish interior cup, you can achieve that. So with just 2 times, basically just 2 times, you can achieve a perfectly clean paint cup. So if you're swapping paint, go ahead. If you're done with painting, this is great as well. And over here is just a showcase of the finish after painting 2 passes of the lacquer paint of using G Paint Metallic Red. As you can see, it's perfectly smooth, shiny, and all that stuff. So obviously this has something to do with the paint quality itself as well. It's not entirely airbrush. So even with an awesome airbrush, if your paint quality sucks, it sucks. If your ratio is wrong, it's wrong. Still gonna look very bad. But with this, we can achieve the best of both worlds. And over here as well, we can see that the lines and stuff, put it up close for you guys to see. Personally, I think the lines are pretty good. I'm not gonna say that it's the best, but I've tried my best to show the precision part of it. I am not a precision painter. I am not a fine art painter. I don't think a lot of people are. If you're watching this, you're probably doing Gundams, you're probably doing Gumplas, just like I am. Alright, so before we start anything, I just want to show you guys on how you guys can change up the needle. First of all, remove the paint cups or anything that you have attached. Remove the handle at the end here, and then you want to loosen up this screw right here. Loosen up this screw, and then what you want to do is straight away just pull out the needle. So this is the 0.28 needle. If it's best if you make a mark or something. This cap itself, this nozzle cap itself is shared, so you don't have to change this part out. However, you do need to change the nozzle cap as well as the nozzle inside. So let's do that right now. So the nozzle is here, the nozzle cap. I'm gonna put this at the side. Let's take out the 0.5 kit. So this is the 0.5 nozzle. This is the 0.5 nozzle cap as well as the 0.5 needle. So to do this is really simple. And a lot of people, they will teach you to insert your needle from the back all the way to the front. But for me, I have my own way and I'm gonna show you. So the needle is protected by a sleeve right here, as you can see. Just remove the sleeve. And this is the needle itself. So the needle is really sensitive, okay? The tip of the needle is the most crucial part of the needle itself. So even though this is a high durability needle, it doesn't really matter at this point, because if you don't take care of it, it's still gonna bend, okay? Because it's so thin. So what I like to do is, this is the tip of the needle, okay? What I like to do is I like to use the end first, going from the front to the back. So if you could just insert it from the front to the back, sometimes there are some bumps there that you just gotta get through, but not force your way through it, okay? Okay, once you got it through, just push it all the way through and make sure that it comes out right here. Okay, now it comes out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull it up to the point where it's almost there. So like something like this, if you can see. Okay, I'm gonna stop right here. And what I'm gonna do is, I'm not gonna like tighten the whole thing, but just tight enough. All right, I'm gonna put this aside. Next, I'm gonna take out the nozzle, the 0.5 nozzle. So this is the nozzle that I'm talking about, okay? This is the nozzle itself. So the fact is that this is a self-centering nozzle, meaning that you don't have to use a mini wrench or anything like that. So what you're gonna do is just drop it in, okay? And make sure that everything is attached properly here, okay? Drop it in, and then you take your 0.5 nozzle cap, make sure that it's the correct one, and you can just screw it in, okay? So all this time, you did not touch the tip of your needle. So that is the brilliant part. So once you've done that, loosen here a little bit. And then what you want to do is you want to push your needle up, okay? Push it up to the point where it stops. And that's it, okay? Don't force it in. Just push it up until it stops. Okay, and then you may tighten this part. Give it a quick squeeze test. See whether the needle retracts or not. Okay, it does. And then you are done. Screw on your nozzle cap quickly and make sure that you don't accidentally bend your needle tip right here. And then screw on the end cap. And then here you go. You are done. So there you have it. You have seen the test from the precision painting to, really sucky hand painting from me, like when I was doing the patterns and all that stuff, and the straight line as well. So the airbrush is totally capable of doing both sides of things. It's capable to do fine painting, fine lines, fine details, as well as painting wide, just like a Gundam pieces or when you're painting a car model. I'm not gonna say whether the airbrush is good or bad or anything like that. You decide for yourself after watching the video. So obviously this is not a super ultra intensive testing. However, whatever that I did just now simulates exactly what would a general user use. If you're looking for something that would be able to produce super fine line just like a pencil or anything like that, first of all, you gotta need the skills to paint those kind of things. Unfortunately, I do not. Other than that, you're probably not gonna be looking at trigger airbrush, because no matter how much we improve the design and all that stuff, a trigger airbrush, it's still a trigger airbrush. But if you are a Gundam painter like me, you paint model kits, you paint cars, you paint dioramas and stuff like that, this is the airbrush that is perfectly fine for you. Because honestly speaking, I paint a lot. And I paint mostly Gundams, dioramas, hangar base, and stuff like that that requires a lot of white painting. So I can totally see myself using this full time moving forward. Because first of all, it's comfortable to hold, the quality is good, and it's very easy to clean and swap out paint. Last but not least, the paint cup that comes with the airbrush is definitely suitable for this kind of work where it requires you to top up a lot of paint, and by having a larger paint cup, it reduces the amount that you have to do so. You'll be spending less time doing all the unnecessary things. And then the most important part, having a trigger airbrush, it's much more comfortable versus the conventional airbrush where you have to hold your airbrush like this. When you hold it like this, some of your nerves are pinched and you can't really paint for a long time. That's why the trigger airbrush is the one for me, and I will definitely use this moving forward. And if you're guys like me, you guys have some difficulties on your hands or you're trying to prevent that from happening moving forward, this is the one for you. So that's it from me. Again, I'm Justin from Studio G, and if you're interested in this particular airbrush, the link is in the description. Currently, the store that is selling it, which is Gaahleri.com, they're running several promotions, so go check it out if you can. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.